Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Nat. We have a fusion card challenge stamp today. We're going to use this Concord and Ninth. It's called Sympathy Rose. It's out of their, is it Big and Beautiful? They're big and bold. What I'm going to do is with the sentiment, I'm going to, with the sketch, we're just going to use part of this rose. We're going to use some Desert Sand, Memento Tuxedo, Memento, oh my gosh, I'm having an issue today. Memento Desert Sand, that's it. This is our graph. So what you can see here is we've got the sketch, and you've got an inspiration image. You can use one or the other, or you can use both. That's what we're going to do today. Okay, we're going to have a play and sort of combination with both. We're going to use the blues out of the image, and we're going to use the sketch. I'm going in with some Prismacolor pencils here. So the colors that we've got are, I don't know, they all start with PC, so we'll just go in the numbers. So we've got 932, which is a violet, 933, which is a violet blue, and 1024, which is the blue slate. We're also going to use a white pencil, which is 938. Honestly, what I'm doing here is sometimes forgetting, but I'm going to put the white down in some of them, but we're just doing the outline and then coming back in with the violet blue. So we've got the violet, the violet down first. Then I'm going to use the white pencil and go over the top and just try and blend it in. So I think some of them I will do that beforehand, some of them I won't. I'm using a really light hand here, and you can use a darker hand, but a heavier hand, once you put a heavier hand of color down, it's hard to sort of add more color because of the waxiness of the pencils. So we're just using it very lightly. I'm not going to show you the whole coloring because it took forever. I am going to trim this down a little bit later on, and just so I cut down, so I know where to color and where I don't need to color, basically. So we're just going to go through. It can be really hard with the Desert Sand ink to see. We're using the blue as something a little bit different because the inspiration picture obviously was a very blue cake. Very pretty cake, but it was very blue sort of thing. So we're going with the blues and the whites out of the inspiration picture. So we're just working our way through. I will link down below the fusion card challenge, so it'd be awesome to see some of your creations over there. Every 2 weeks they post a different type of inspiration photo, so each one has a sketch and a inspiration picture, and as I said, you can use just the sketch, just the inspiration, or both. Post it over on the channel. I will link that down below. I don't know whether I said that, I can't remember anymore, but I will link that down below and you'll be able to check it out and have a look. Also down below there will be a link to my blog, which will have sort of all the colours that I use, a little bit with my Edward Scissorhands sort of type of colouring. I tend to, I suppose it's my old hairdressing days, I've said it before, but I'm an ex-hairdresser, and you know, hairdressers tend to hold everything in one hand to a point, scissors, combs, all that sort of stuff. So I suppose I never really got out of it. What else can I tell you? So I'm just going through all the colors. We're going to do a little bit of the greens now. So I've put a layer of white down, which is what I really intended to do each and every single time I did a petal, but I forgot. We have with our greens 908, which is the dark green, 911, which is an olive green, 988 marine green, and 1097 as a moss green. They're sort of the ranges of greens that we're going to use. The benefit with sometimes using pencil is that if you're not liking it, as you can just see there, I did go through with a normal eraser and just remove it. So it's pretty simple to a point. You can't remove the whole thing, obviously. And there's going to be some sort of leftover residual. Let's use that word. But honestly, it really does a great job. Unless you're completely changing the colour, then, you may have a little bit of a problem. So just working our way through our petals, just trying to be aware of trying to define each, and they're not petals, trying to define each little bit of green. What is it called when you've got leaves and everything else, but these little bits aren't a leaf? They're the outer casing of the bud. So let's just go with that. So we're just working our way through. As I said, just trying to define all the bits and pieces, and so they stand out. So I think that's why we brought in another darker colour, just to try and make it be a little bit more prominent from the next bit. So I am going to, in places I'm going to colour too far out, like because I want to trim it down to match our, like the design that we have there with the sketch. But at this point, I don't really know how I'm going to frame this all up. So I've done the leaf, I've done one leaf, but then I realised I hadn't pressed play. So we're going to do a little bit more of that. Again, putting a layer of the white down, trying to get our veins of our leaf in there before I totally lose it, because it's going to be really, really hard to pick it up. So we're just going to put a little bit down. I'm working our way through our colours yet again. What can I tell you? Nothing. Same. Everything's the same. Still, going through the battles of COVID-19. Still working. As I am lucky that I am still working. But it's... when are we going to get back to normal? That's what I would like to know. So friends and I get together for, sometimes when you see some of my videos, you see my hands sort of flapping around. Sometimes I just get too excited and, but other times I'm actually chatting to my friends while they're doing their thing, which I suppose in some ways we're really, really lucky. Yes, we can't see our parents, we can't see our friends, but we have things like, well, let's go back to this. So you can clearly see that I've trimmed it all down. I've lost a little bit of the green that I didn't know, but yeah, it won't matter. One good thing with pencils, make sure your pencil is really, really sharp. And that's, we constantly go back every now and then and either rotate the pencil around. I have been known to do that, or just use a sharpener all the time. As I was saying, we're lucky because we got Facebook, and we got Facebook Messenger with the calls, and we've got the rooms, and we've got, I don't know about you, that's pretty much what my friends and I use, just to, have a chat and catch up and feel connected to each other. So I think in some ways it's, we're lucky in some ways. Excuse my head there. And I don't know what the heck was going on with my hair, but So we're just going to go through and colour. I need to look at... Comment down below if you rather voiceovers or would you rather music playing in the background while people colour. I'm sort of getting towards music in the background while people colour, because there's only so many times that you can chat And my life's not that interesting that I can tell you a story or tell you things that are happening in my life, because it's not happening. It's not happening, people. Down the bottom, let's just talk about the card. Down the bottom, you're going to see that a little bit later on, I am not going to do the whole thing. I'm not going to colour the whole thing. I just nearly knocked over a whole cup. And that is because down the bottom, I don't need to colour the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like, I tried to leave some of the petals in. I probably could have cut it down a tiny little bit more, but with the big flower, I wanted you to see it as well. The card in itself is relatively simple. As I said, we're just following, it's just the colouring that's going to take a fair bit. This is where I've got a panel that I roughly want, and I don't need to have it all cleared off, but what I do need to figure out is how much of this blue piece that I want to use and want to keep. Okay. So this is where we're going to pull out my design again, just to have a look. So I'm just going to mark it with a pencil of where I want to trim that white piece off, and I'll also mark the bottom with the blue and where I want to trim that off. Because if you don't need to colour it all, save yourself some time, save yourself some energy, and trim it down beforehand. You can see here, obviously now I've got a lot less that I need to worry about. So yeah, we're just sort of figuring out where we're going to place everything, basically. I'm going to do a little bit of a line, but I'm using a white pencil basically so I can go past it and you're not going to see it, sort of thing. And doing it this way cuts down, I still go quite a fair way past it, but I think I did this quite a while ago, but I think I cut the other white piece of cardstock down a little bit more. So really, like, I like my Copic colouring, and I really want to colour this stamp with some markers, because honestly I'm really, really slow with pencils. And I think that is pretty much most people, a good chunk of people, maybe. Being very rude and generalizing, but I reckon colouring pencils would be a lot slower than markers, because, you know, how many times do you go over the panel or the piece that you're doing, you know, the little square that you're doing? I am so much faster with my markers. I like my colouring. So usually if I go for a design team, it's usually because they really want people with colouring. So, and I like a little bit of watercolour, but, you know, let's be honest, you watch my channel, you know that I am pretty much more of the Copic marker than anything else. So I'm a little bit of a snob in that regard. I haven't tried too many other alcohol markers, but these are just the ones that I had access that were straight off. They were the ones I got introduced to, so we went for those. At one point there was trio markers, and I did have, their O was really, really good. I will say that their O blender pen was so much easier to remove, like red, for example. That is one thing the Copic Zero marker, red is not its friend. So at this point I finally cut down some of the colouring for you. We are using this Stampin' Up Subtle 3D Embossing folder. It's literally just a whole bunch of lines. I'm trying to think of what, it's not really linen because it's not crisscross. The photos that you'll see at the end or over my blog, they'll show you. I'm using some blue, some darker blue just from my stash because we don't have enough blue. And I suppose in some ways because I'm being lazy and I'm not measuring it, I'm just using my white panel and the blue panel to match it up. And then it's good because you can just sort of layer it down and make sure it's even sort of thing. You know what I mean? It's currently dinner time for the tribe, so you might hear a little bit of clunking and banging and carrying on. So this is where I'm going to trim down my white piece. I'm using the darker blue just to help me mark where I want to trim it down. I don't know if anyone else does this, but yeah, I don't know. It's just something I started doing many, many years ago and kept on going. Decided I wanted to trim a little bit more. Okay, so let's talk about all the things that I've used because this is a long video for me to just ramble on. As I said, we've got the Concord and Ninth Sympathy Rose. We've got Mento Desert Sand ink. I'm going to use the Avriel Thanks, which is that stamp set right there. I'm just trying to figure out what one I'm going to use. And all that trimming, we're just going to put a little bit of, temporary adhesive just to make sure it stays put because I just wanted to make sure that I was using the whole of that panel. Just make sure it's all right. Now, I'm going to kill this name. News Inks. Their ink is, I really don't want to pronounce this because I know I'm going to kill it. Let's spell it. Ayurite. Ayurite. As I told you, I'm going to kill it. I'm just removing, I've got a new mouse pad for my stamp. My Misty, and I've got so I just wanted to make sure all the adhesive was off it. So I've just got a little tiny strip here. It's Memento. No, it's not. It's My Favorite Things. It's not Bitty. It's Bitty Thanks and Gratitudes. It's been a long week, people. I decided I didn't like it separated, so we're going to do something a little bit different from me. Yes, it's not something I've done before. Because the things is so light, that's the rewrite. I don't know, but we're going to stamp it over top of the things. I'm going to stamp it a few times just to make sure it stands out nice and it's pretty dark against the. So yeah, that's something a little bit different for me. But I like it. I really, I like it. Mostly the reason why I did it, if it was too bold, like a strong colour. So I've trimmed it down a little bit more because I probably should have just trimmed it down in the first place. If it was a little bit of too much of a bold things, you could like gold emboss it or something like that. I would probably go for silver or something like. Yeah, I think I'd go for silver. We're going to layer those all up now. So that obviously is black because we've got a lot of texture in the background there. And the same with this one. And you can see that thanks is just so much better with having that little bit more trimmed off, which is why it was really good for me to go past the lines that I was marking. So I changed my mind and decided I was going to mount that up a little bit. So we've done that, and that's going to be pretty much our card. We've got a little bit of sequins. Now these sequins are a little bit too bright, but I had some more matte ones and they weren't going to do the job. So we're just going to sort of put a little bit of sequins around the place and just fiddle with those until I'm happy. I'm going to use a little bit of multi-matte medium to adhere those down. And I'm using a little, like a pickup tool sort of thing. And I got those from a local crafts shop here in Australia. I'm actually hanging out waiting for this one and played around a bit too much with him. I'm hanging around for Bunnings to open up because I need some more foam. Yeah, so I could do a click and collect, but you know. So we'll just hang out and wait for Bunnings to open up, which is like a hardware place. So that's it. That's my card. I hope you enjoy it. As I said, all the information will be linked down below. And I will talk to you next time. Bye.